Niners fans and Seahawks fans, it's about that time. 8:30 on a Thursday. Faithful Niner Empire. What's good? You know who it is. It's your boy, Jay in the Bay. And once again, it's a pleasure to be on with the faithful, the Niner Empire. Some of the best fans, y'all know it, in the NFL. It's a pleasure to be with you guys on this Thursday morning. It is Seahawk week with the 49ers. It is the first division game for the 49ers on the schedule. Right now, we come into this game with a 2-1 record. The Seahawks are 1-2. The Seahawks have always been a dangerous team with Russell Wilson, but they're going to be really, really, really hungry to get this win at Levi Stadium because they don't want to start the season, 1-3. So this is definitely going to be a tough game. I do have a special guest with me, Steezy Smith. He will be on shortly. But shout out to everyone who's joining the live stream on Jay in the Bay Facebook page and also Jay in the Bay YouTube channel. I appreciate all the support. Hopefully, everyone's having a great, productive week so far. Only one day from payday, and ain't nothing better than a payday Friday. And then we're on to the weekend. So, let's say what's up to the people in them comments because this show is nothing without the people who you know subscribe to Jay in the Bay, like the videos, like the live streams, and of course the people who converse with me in the chat. They're contributing to the show, so I obviously very very much appreciate that. Let's see who we got in here. Niner Sickness. What's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream, Niner Sickness. He says, good morning, faithful. Hey, it's good to see you on this morning, man. Hopefully your week is going well, Niner Sickness. Aiden fam, what's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream, Aiden. For those that don't know, Aiden and I will have a live stream tonight, Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. We'll talk about the Niners and Seahawks, of course. So people who can't watch this morning, because this early on the West Coast, it's 8:30 in the morning. It's early on the West Coast. I totally understand if people can't watch it, but I will be having a live stream with Aiden tonight at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time on Jay in the Bay YouTube channel. Make sure you guys come through there. I appreciate it, but hopefully you're having a good week, Aiden. Thanks for coming through to the stream. Payo time, what's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream, Payo time. He says, big NFC West weekend, absolutely. The Rams are 3-0, the Cardinals are 3-0. Two undefeated teams. I'm glad that someone will lose. That's for sure. I'm glad someone will lose this game. And then the Seahawks, they're 1-2, and the Niners are 2-1. So it's going to be a huge NFC West weekend. That's for sure. I gotta say, what's good to Jay Mouse? Thanks for tuning in to the stream. And what's good to Rams House? He says Cooper Kupp named NFC Offensive Player of the Month. Cooper Kupp is balling. I can't even lie about that. And we'll see how he performs against the Arizona Cardinals. But yeah, Cooper Kupp has been balling out. I can't even lie. And he looks pretty good with Matt Stafford as his quarterback. He looks even better. And Niner Signet says, make sure everyone hit that like button. Absolutely. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. I appreciate everyone tuning in to the stream. And of course, we have a special guest with us here this morning. This man, reps the Seattle Seahawks hard. I consider him a Seattle Seahawks fanatic. He is very good at what he does, intelligent, knows his Seattle Seahawks, and help me in welcoming in Steezy Smith. What's good? How you
Man,
doing?
good morning. Good morning, bro. How you feeling?
Hey, I'm doing real good, man. I'm excited for this week 4 matchup. Between your Seahawks and my Niners. Ever since Russell Wilson was drafted, he's always been a thorn in the side of every team in the NFC West, not only the 49ers. And how are you feeling going into week this week 4 matchup?
Man, I feel confident. I know Jimmy G's never lost 2 in a row, but Russ Wilson's never lost 3 in a row. And if it comes down to that, something got to give, right? Well, in that case, I'm going to go with the better quarterback. And I know, especially in this day and age, especially with how the Seahawks have been absolutely reeling these past couple of games, the situation is a lot more different. Obviously, Seattle, the defense is almost non-existent, but I just feel like with their backs against the wall, all great teams must go through adversity. And just like Patrick Mahomes recently said, I mean, a little adversity never hurt nobody. And so I just feel like with Seattle, the fact that they've started out like this before, the fact that last year the defense was even worse, they were able to get right, get it together. So I've been on record saying this, but I just feel like not only the game against the Niners, but also the Thursday night football game against the Rams, these games are going to be very telling. And I hate to say this when the season has just begun, but the season could already be over. If Seattle was to go 1-4 in these next couple of games, the season could already be over. And so I'm not in panic mode yet. That's why I'm confident. I just feel like this team plays a lot better when they have a chip on their shoulder. I feel like when their backs are against the wall, we have the type of guys, the dogs that emerge when times get tough. So I'm not. Yeah, I'm confident. I'm not worried like a lot of other fans. Calling for Pete's head, saying this, saying that. Oh, we're missing the playoffs. Like, I'm not tripping yet. Not just yet. It's not time.
Yeah, you can't call for Pete Carroll to get fired. I mean, he's 2-time Super Bowl appearance coach. He definitely revitalized that Seahawks franchise. Yeah, I think it's the season is still early. I know it's a 17-game season now. We have to keep that in mind. And it's still early. But I don't know about you. Well, I'm sure I'll get your feedback, but I'm sure I was surprised that you guys are 1-2. That's for sure. I definitely thought you guys would be 3-0, to start the season for sure. But what do you think the Seahawks can do to stop this losing streak?
Honestly, I feel like Seattle should go back to running the football a little bit more. I've been on record saying this on my channel, but Carson had 4 carries in the second half against the Tennessee Titans, despite Seattle sporting, what was it, a 14-point lead entering the fourth quarter? And yet he only had 4 carries. To me, that was very puzzling. Against the Minnesota Vikings, he closed out the first half, giving Seattle the lead 17-7. I think he averaged like 6.7 yards a carry, and yet he only finished the game with 12 carries. And I know Seattle didn't have as many possessions, especially in the third quarter. They had 1 drive, if I'm not mistaken. And in the fourth quarter, they just weren't able to capitalize on any of their drives. But Pete Carroll wants to talk about running the football and bringing some balance. Well, I don't understand why we're not running the football. And I understand, we want to get other guys involved. But I think that if we run the football, a lot of good things can come of that. You can use play action. You could use the run game to set up the pass. You could use the run game to make looks a lot easier for DK and Tyler throughout the game. And so defenses aren't just keen on focusing, honing in their attention on both those guys when it comes to in the games. Because I also feel like that's where sometimes the offense stalls because they haven't been running the ball. We know they're not going to run the ball. They're going to pass it to this guy or that guy. It's either Tyler or DK. So I just feel like bring some more balance, run the football, and then everything else you could play off of that.
Yeah, I totally agree. Pete Carroll and Kyle Shanahan have a similar philosophy, play good defense and run the ball. And so far for the 49ers, like every running back on our active roster has been hurt. And it's something that I think against the Seahawks, I think Jimmy G's going to have to throw the ball out more. I know he threw the ball 40 times last week against the Packers. I think he may have to do that again if we can't establish the run or if we don't have a running back that Shanahan is confident in. We have Elijah Mitchell, who's he was out last week due to a shoulder injury. We'll see how he progresses during the week, but hopefully he can play because Jimmy G without a running game, I'd rather see him run the ball effectively and have that balance as you just spoke of. But make sure everyone in the chat right now, make sure you check out Steezy A. Smith. All his social media links are in the description. Make sure you check him out, give him a follow, subscribe. He's on IG, Twitter, and YouTube. So make sure you check him out. And I got to give a huge what's good to Blue True. I appreciate that super chat. Blue True says, looking great. Jay in the Bay and Steezy A. Smith is suited and booted. That's right. Yeah.
Man, that's
I
love, man.
appreciate
Thank you
that.
so much.
Yeah. I appreciate that, Blue True. And let's see. I think there were, let me say, what's good to the Niner Game podcast. Thanks for tuning in to the stream. And Niner Game podcast also salutes Steezy A. Smith. He says, oh, he come in swagged out. I can appreciate that, like the suit and tie.
Man, that's love, man. Thank you. Thank you, y'all.
And so you mentioned the running game. That you guys think you need to run the ball more. How is the offensive line? Because I know the offensive line definitely needs to be able to create holes for the running backs in order to have an effective running game. I was going to ask you, which offensive unit do you think needs to be improved the most in order to get back on top, get back to 500?
I think for me, so going back to what I was saying earlier, just real quickly, I think another reason why I want Seattle to run the ball more, not just to add balance, not just to add unpredictability, but I also feel like because Seattle's dead last in the NFL in opponent time of possession, opponents are holding the ball for about 37 minutes a game. There's 60 minutes in a football game, so that's a lot more than half of the football game where the opposing team is just driving down the field, having the football in their hands, wasting clock, chewing clock. And I know time of possession is somewhat of an overrated stat, but when you're last in the NFL, your defense is as bad as Seattle's, it definitely means something. So I think for me, is it a cop-out to say Shane Waldron in the second half? Because I feel like Seattle has the best offense, or not, I don't even feel like this isn't even subjective. This is objective. Seattle actually has the most points scored in the first half this season. And if memory serves me correct, it's either 68 or 62, but it's one of the two. So Seattle has the best offense in the first half of games and points scored. And then the second half of games, 13. That's dead last in all of football with none of those points coming in the third quarter. And just for the record, Seattle averages 4 points a game after halftime. And so to me, I know the talent is there. Russell Wilson is there. DK is there. Carson's there. Tyler Lockett is there. The offense is there. They're coming out guns a-blazing. They're coming out with explosiveness in the first half. And so to come out completely flat in the second half, to me, that's an indictment on the coaching staff. That's an indictment on head coach Pete Carroll and Shane Waldron for failing to make adjustments. Because at halftime, the opposing team is like, damn, we either getting blown out or they just scoring, doing whatever they want on us. And so they making the right adjustments and shutting down Seattle in the second half. Now, if Seattle's able to bring in the offense that they have in the first half into the second half, that takes pressure off the defense, you're putting more points on the board, and you have a higher chance of winning football games. So which offensive unit needs to improve the most? Yes, the offensive line, but the offensive line is dealing with a couple of injuries. Seattle hasn't had Ethan Posick or Brandon Shell the last couple of games, and so I'm going to cut them a little bit of slack. I know the offensive line, they get all the blame all the time, and they certainly deserve some of the blame now, but they're not operating at 100% strength, so I'm not going to put too much blame there. But I got to go with Shane Waldron and the rest of the offense and the adjustments as it pertains to the offense in the second half. That needs to improve the most, just because having an elite offense like that, that's going to be able to cover up for a hideous defense.
Yeah, it's funny because I had the same comment, or I thought the same thing that Niner Game podcast just thought about, where the 49ers start slow and end better. I've been frustrated with the 49ers because in the beginning, the first half, the offense is stagnant. There's a lot of 3 and outs, and that really puts more pressure on the defense in order to keep the game close. And it's funny, the Seattle Seahawks start fast. They score a lot of points in the first half, and the 49ers are the exact opposite. And for some reason, we play better behind. I don't know what it is. But against Seattle, I think it could be a shootout. Our secondary is basically in shambles right now. We're pulling guys off the street to start on our team. Our defensive line, you said that your offensive line is not really a strength on the offense, and I feel like our defensive line is a strength. I know we didn't play our best last week, but, they're definitely going to have to rebound and have a better performance. So that could be a key matchup, the Seattle Seahawks offensive line, and then, going up against Nick Bosa and the rest of the 49ers defensive line. But it'll be intriguing to see, how this game plays out, because we're very, very opposite. And as Niner Game podcast said, Seattle starts fast and end slow. So, we shall see how this plays out.
But real
Now you
fast,
mentioned, yeah.
sorry, but real fast, just because Niner Game pointed that out, to me, it's really ironic because if you guys remember, last year or in seasons past, Seattle will be the team to start off slow, and then
Mhm.
Russell Wilson will finish off games. And so to me, it's just like what happened to that? I'm not saying I'd rather go back to that, but I just remember starting off slow and always finishing strong, or always, Russell Wilson, leading the charge. And so for it to be the other way around this time around, it's just like, I don't know what's going on, but to me, a lot of it has to do with coaching.
Mm. Yeah, and I would say the same too. A little bit with us, it's Shanahan, and I mean, you could always criticize play calling, because whenever something doesn't work, you say, "Oh, you should have ran this," or "You should have ran that." So it's easy to say that the play calling is an issue, but Jimmy G has been inaccurate, in the first half for sure. At least the last two games. But
Right.
I think part of that is due to the offensive line, and I don't know what it is with Jimmy. Either he's nervous at the beginning of the games. I don't know what it is, but also we haven't been able to really run the ball, and that's been an issue, as well. I think Jimmy plays best when he has a run game. I think similar to Russell Wilson. I know Russell Wilson's great. He's one of the greatest Seahawks players of all time, future Hall of Famer. But it seems like he works better too when there's a running game. I think a lot of quarterbacks are better when there's balance, in the offense. And as you said, you can keep the defense on their toes. They're not sure what to expect. I think most quarterbacks will play better when that situation happens. Now we
No
got to
doubt.
talk about the defense. You guys brought back Carlos Dunlap. You brought in Kerry Hyder Jr. Jamal Adams is back. He's the highest paid safety in the NFL. Props out to him. Now is there someone or a part of the defense that needs to improve the most in order to get back to winning ways?
Obviously, it got to be the secondary, but just because I'm not sure the personnel is there for that to really improve in the way that we'd want it to improve, I'm gonna say the pass rush because what was expected was a loaded pass rush full of depth. And I know in week one against the Colts, the pass rush was there. I think it was 3 sacks, 10 quarterback hits. And then against Tennessee, it started going downhill. And then from then on against Minnesota, Kirk Cousins had all day in the pocket. He only took 1 sack, despite that offensive line being pretty bad, especially in pass protection. And so I don't know what's been going on. I think one of the things that have played into Seattle not having as effective of a pass rush is Seattle isn't really using Jamal in the pass rush game, or they're not blitzing Jamal as much. They're not really. He's dropping back more. He's not getting after the quarterback as much. He doesn't have a single sack on the season, and I think he doesn't have any forced fumbles, no pass deflections, no ints. So far, he hasn't been the return on investment, but I'm not worried about him. I'm just saying I don't think he's as involved as it pertains to the pass rush. And now Kerry Hyder has a concussion. He's probably not going to play.
Mm.
Daryl Taylor, I love what I've been seeing from him. I've seen a lot of flashes. Benson Mayo, Rasheem Green's been a little inconsistent. LJ Collier has been playing. Carlos Dunlap has been. I don't know where he's been at. Honestly, he might as well still be in Cincinnati because I haven't seen him show up this season. I don't know what's going on with him. I mean, we thought we signed him to a bargain deal when he came back on a 2-year, $14 million deal or something along those lines, and here he is not He's not even. It's to the point where it's not even where he's just not putting up sack production. He's just not even getting pressure. You have to be able to get pressure to be able to get after the quarterback. He's not getting either, and so I'm confident in him as well. I think he'll start to pick it up, but I got to say the pass rush because we know that the talent is there. We know that the depth is there. We know that Seattle could use Jamal. And we also know that Seattle finished seventh last year in sacks with 46, with pretty much the same personnel, plus Kerry Hyder, plus Daryl Taylor, plus an improved Alton Robinson. So all the pieces and ingredients are there. Guys just need to step it up. Guys need to start making plays. And once the pass rush is there, that helps the guys on the back end. There's not so much pressure on the guys in the back end. Their jobs are a lot easier. So help the pass rush out, or the pass rush needs to improve, and in turn, everything else will improve from there.
Yeah, I agree with that. A secondary's best friend is the pass rush. If the defensive line can't get to the quarterback, the secondary can only cover so much. And
Exactly.
it's interesting you mentioned that the Seahawks are using Jamal Adams differently, because it seems like Jamal Adams is best used as someone close to the line of scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
He can, impose his will against the offense. He can get after the quarterback. Do you guys have a different defensive coordinator than last year?
They still Cam Norton.
Oh, still Ken Norton. Okay, so I wonder why. Why do you think he's using him differently? Because he's not using him to his strength.
I think part of what plays into that. So I'm actually going to say Pete Carroll, because Pete Carroll, he's the one who has full autonomy over both the offense and the defense. Ken Norton's a defensive coordinator in name only, but what he's doing is he's actually just following whatever Pete wants. And so I'm going to say that's on Coach Pete. But part of what's playing into that, I think, I don't know, this might be more of like just my own like thinking, like my personal opinion. I don't think there's any real basis to this. There could be, but I just think that, you know, that narrative that Jamal was terrible last year in coverage, that narrative that, oh, Jamal can't cover, blah, blah, blah. I think the team is trying to put him in positions this year, dropping him back in coverage to show the rest of the world that, yo, he's not that bad in coverage. You know, and this year, to my knowledge, he hasn't been terrible in coverage. He hasn't been phenomenal. He's just been okay. But what he has been also, he's been better in coverage this year than he was last year. And I know last year, I'm not going to use this as an excuse, but I'm just bringing it up. He was dealing with injuries throughout. It wasn't just in the games that he missed. In the games that he played, he was also dealing with injuries. And so I kind of give him a little bit of slack for not being so good in coverage. So I think, yeah, that narrative that, oh, he's terrible in coverage, I think Seattle, in a way, is trying to put him in positions to cover more, to drop back more, to prove all those people that, nah, he could cover. And maybe Seattle's trying to justify the investment that they made, because you just don't pay an in-the-box safety that much money. So you also want to show a guy or have a guy that could also cover.
No, that makes a lot of sense. You know, that's good reasoning to me as to why they would you know, make him want to, or excuse me, put him in a position to be more of a coverage safety as opposed to, like, you know, a blitzing safety. But I think at the end of the day, you have to put him, you know, in positions to succeed. And especially with the Seahawks' lack of pass rush, as you just explained, you know, you might as well put Adams up there, you know, to go after the quarterback and put pressure on the quarterback. Because, like I said before, you know, secondary's best friend is a pass rush. We have to get after the quarterback. And Niner Game Podcast agrees as well. We have the same issue with our defense. We got to get to the quarterback. I think last week against Aaron Rodgers, he had like 35 dropbacks, and we only pressured him, I think, on 4 and only had 1 sack. So that, you know, that's not going to get it done against any NFL team. We have to get after the quarterback to help our secondary. And as Niner Game Podcast mentioned, you know, we're basically taking corners off the street with Buster Screen, you know, Dre Kirkpatrick. We have a rookie starting, you know, 5th round rookie starting, and he's shown promise, but no one expected him to be in that position. So, you know, secondary is definitely key. Niner Sickness says, oh, actually, let me say first to what's good to Jesus. Thanks for tuning in to the stream, man. Niner Sickness says the Niners definitely need to be able to run the ball more against Seattle than we did against the Packers if we want to find any type of success to win. I just don't see who that running back is right now. Trey Sermon, he just doesn't have that burst that Mostert and Mitchell have. And, you know, I know it's only one game. I'm not giving up hope on Trey Sermon, but hopefully Elijah Mitchell will be able to play. Niner Sickness has a question for you, Steezy. He says, how is the running game for the Seahawks this year?
Bro, the running game's been, in my eyes, particularly efficient. They just haven't been getting the carries. Like I said earlier, Chris Carson had 4 carries in the second half against Tennessee, and he had 12 carries in both halves against Minnesota, albeit on a 6.7 yards per carry clip. And so he just hasn't been getting the touches. I think week 1, he actually had his most touches. He had about, 13 or 14 rushes, but he's yet to have a game in which he's had 17 rushes or more. So the running game, I'm going to say it again, it's been efficient, but they're just not getting enough opportunities. And real fast, just to piggyback off what you're saying about Elijah Mitchell, I know he's on the Niners, and for what it's worth, I'm also in 15 fantasy leagues, and I got him in at least half of those leagues. And so, you know, I did hear, like you said, you know, he did practice in a limited capacity yesterday, and he actually had a chance to play last week, but then I guess his shoulder injury was more of a stinger than originally thought. And so hopefully, you know, he's able to get it in this week. Thankfully for you guys, Seattle's run defense, on top of the abysmal secondary and pass rush, is also right now last in football, we just allowed a backup running back to pile up almost 200 scrimmage yards on us. And so whether or not Elijah Mitchell plays, Trey Sermon ends up playing, I think if Seattle doesn't get it together defensively, you guys are going to have a field day in the run.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that as well. Like the Seahawks are bottom 5 in pass yards allowed, and I think rushing yards allowed. But I don't know if there's a back outside of Elijah Mitchell that Kyle Shanahan is confident in, because Trey Sermon had basically all the carries. I mean, we had we had our fullback in shotgun formation, running balls up the middle. Like that's just something we never do when when we're healthy. Like I'm like, what are you doing, Shot? Like you don't have any faith in any other running back than Kyle Juszczyk, and I love Juice, but that's not his strength. Shotgun formation, running the ball, fullback dive. That's just not his strength. He's great in the passing game. He's great in blocking, but I just hope Elijah Mitchell can play. If not, it could be a day where we're depending on Jimmy G to make reads and throw the ball. And we were down 17-0 against Green Bay, and he was instrumental in getting us back. I just hope we have a sense of urgency at the beginning of the game. We can't have 3 and outs against the Seattle Seahawks offense. We can't have short drives. We need to have long, extended drives. And if we don't, it could be another 17-0 that we're down again, because unfortunately the defense is just not, with our corners that we have right now, it's just not what it was at the beginning of the year. So we definitely have to have a sense of urgency on the offensive side of the ball. Now, as a Seahawks fan, I know you're probably thinking of tons of names right now, but as a Seahawks fan, which 49ers offensive player are you most concerned about?
This one's tough. I think for me, there's a couple of guys, that I'm afraid of. But the guy that I'm going to have to go with, just because I think he's due for a monster game, especially with the way that our secondary has been looking, I got to go with George Kittle. But he's still one of the very best tight ends in all of football. I know last week he had his best game to date. What was it, 7 catches for 92 yards against the Packers. He's yet to have a 100-yard game this season. And one of the only reasons why I know that is because him, too, I also got in a few of my fantasy leagues. And so, I'm paying attention to all these different stats and whatnot. And, I don't shy away from the Niners players. I really don't. I'm not one of those Seahawks fans who stay away from Rams and Niners or Cardinals. If it benefits my fantasy team, I'm going to go after them. So if it involves having to root for these players in these games, then so be it. As long as I'm rooting for my Seahawks, that's all that matters. So that being said, I got to go with George Kittle. Like I said, I think he's due for a huge game. He talked about it in the post-game presser. I think it was after the Packers, or they asked him in the interview, and he was talking about how, we got to get ready for Seattle, blah, blah, and he was just, he was speaking highly on Seattle. He respects Seattle. And every time they go up against Seattle, I think, or to me, it always seems like he has a good game, and I just think that, like I said, he's due for a great game. Coverage, especially on the back end, it hasn't been right. It seems like our linebackers just can't cover. The safeties, I'm not super confident in their ability to cover a top 3 tight end of football. And so I think maybe if there's question marks in your guys' ground game, maybe if Elijah Mitchell isn't 100%, if Kyle Shanahan isn't 100% sold on Trey Sermon, I think they're going to have to try to feature George Kittle in the passing game. Look to get him up the seam, look to get him deep, use him in the quick passing game. So I just think that Seattle, they won't be able to cover him. And San Fran, they're probably going to try to feature him, get him his first 100-yard game of the season, and try to expose that secondary that Seattle's been putting on display.
Yeah, I agree. And I want to see George Kittle be featured and be utilized like, Darren Waller with the Raiders and Travis Kelce with the Chiefs. I just think we need to, make him more of a priority on the offensive side of the ball. Because as you mentioned, the Seattle secondary is questionable. The linebackers can't really cover, so George Kittle should have a great day. Jimmy's just got to be able to get him the ball and get him the ball early, and that goes for Debo and Ayuk as well. And that's why I said I think this could be a potential shootout, maybe in the high 20s, early 30s, and whoever turns over the ball least will probably win the game. But I gotta say, oh yeah, and back to Chris Carson. One thing I was thinking about, maybe I know Chris Carson has struggled with injuries in the past with the Seahawks. That could be a reason why the Seahawks don't want to give him 20 plus carries at the beginning of the year. That could be an option. I don't know who your backup running back is, but I just thought about that when you were talking about how you guys are limiting his carries. Basically, do you think that could be a legit reason?
I think that's a great point. Yeah, bro, because definitely last season, I think it was right before the playoffs, some of those games that he was playing. I noticed too that he just wasn't getting that many carries. And a lot of people were talking about, oh, yeah, they're just trying to keep him fresh for the playoffs, or oh, he's had injury concerns in the past, better to have him healthy in the postseason than in the regular season. So I'm totally with that. But I'm also the notion that Seattle has just been so discombobulated on offense. In the second half, they don't know what they want to do. That they're failing to make the right adjustments, and they're falling behind in games, choking away leads. It's hard to run the football. Offensive line dealing with injuries. There's so many things that go into it, but I think that's definitely one of the main reasons why.
Absolutely. And I gotta say, what's good to Livy's World? Thanks for tuning in to the stream. She says, what's good? Top of the morning to you. Yeah, we're early. We're early here on the West Coast. I appreciate everyone tuning in to the stream. Make sure you check out Steezy A. Smith. All his social media links are in the description. And I appreciate everyone liking the stream. Make sure you subscribe to Jay intheBay and Steezy A. Smith. Niner Sickness says we need Elijah Mitchell back because for some reason Kyle Shanahan doesn't believe in Sermon. It just seems like Sermon doesn't have that same burst. I'm not saying he's a bad running back or anything. It's still early, but right now he just doesn't have that burst. I think honestly though, as 49er fans, we got I would say that we've been very spoiled with Raheem Mostert, the fastest running back in the NFL. And we're used to when someone makes that cut, they're off to the races. Every time Mostert got the ball, that was the case. Or at least he has the ability to, to take it to the end zone. And it doesn't seem like Sermon has that burst just yet. I don't know. Maybe he'll get better. But, hopefully Mitchell will be back. And, that's what I'm looking forward to. Niner Game Podcast says, yeah, Henry came through and destroyed y'all, but that ain't saying much because he does that to a lot of teams. Yeah. And we played the Titans this year, I think a few days before Christmas. And that's going to be a Thursday night game. So that's going to be a very intriguing matchup. But the Titans, they are human. They have been beaten this year. I don't know what their record. I think are they 1-2, 2-1,
2-1, yeah.
2-1. Okay, so they just lost that first game and they've won 2 straight. So that's good for them. I gotta say, what's good to the Sports Star? Thanks for tuning in to the stream, and hopefully you're having a great week so far. 49er Game Podcast says, well, if Jimmy is playing, don't worry, we won't be throwing more than 20 yards down the field. What now, as a Seahawks fan, what are your concerns about Jimmy G? Does he? Are you able to sleep before the night of the game because you're so worried about Jimmy G looking to the right and looking to the left? or are you like, Jimmy, he's a below average quarterback, we're not worried? What are your thoughts?
I'm kind of in between. I think Jimmy G's actually, I think he's a solid starter. I think on his best day, he's slightly above average. And on his worst day, well, I'm pretty sure y'all can speak on that for me. But no, he's definitely, I feel like, no, he's above average on his best day, and I think that for me, the fear of Jimmy G stems from the fact that he has Kyle Shanahan behind him calling plays, because Kyle Shanahan is that type of offensive mind, that type of offensive guru in which he places all of his players, especially on offense, in the best positions to succeed. Now, if Jimmy G was playing in another system, if he was playing on another team, I don't think he'd ever look as good as he ever had or ever did in San Fran. In San Fran, the personnel's there. He has the weapons. Debo's been a monster this year. He's been eating. Brandon Ayuk finally had his first touchdown of the season last year. It looks like he's finally starting to get out of the doghouse. George Kittle, like I said, he's due for his first big game of the season. So, look, that's where the fear comes in. He has all these playmakers around him. He has a talented play caller, an offensive guru, an offensive mastermind that puts him in the best position to succeed and to look good. And going up against a Seattle defense that's the worst in football, that can only help him.
Man, you got to be Jimmy G's PR person, man. You speak very highly of Jimmy G. Most, I guess, the Niner fans that I encounter They don't speak that highly of Jimmy. But
I
as you mentioned,
know.
as you mentioned, they be hating on my quarterback. They be hating on Jimmy G, man.
They
But
really do though.
but as you mentioned, the pieces are in place. Hopefully, we can have a good running game that will help Jimmy. And my thing with Jimmy is at the beginning of the game, he's got to be accurate. And I know that's kind of consistent with the offensive line. If the offensive line is looking a little shaky, Jimmy G is not confident. He does not want to be back there. He wants to get rid of the ball. And that's been consistent with Jimmy. If the offensive line can protect Jimmy, usually we'll see the best Jimmy. But in the earlier drives in the game, he's got to be accurate. That's what it is. He's got to be more accurate in the beginning of games, so that way we don't have those long third downs where it's 3rd and 8, 3rd and 11, and we're kind of hoping and praying that Jimmy can make a play. We need more 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 4s, and we have to have successful yardage on the early downs to do that. So the pieces are in place for Jimmy. We're going up against I'm not going to say a bad defense in Seattle. I'm just going to say a defense that they haven't really played their best yet, and it's still early. But there will be opportunities for Jimmy to make plays, and that's what I'm very intrigued by. I'm looking forward to. And on the defensive side of the ball, which 49ers defensive player are you most concerned about?
Ooh, that's a good one. You guys got a few pieces. Real quick, I do just want to say that I appreciate you for the kind words. You were talking about how you don't believe Seattle's the worst defense, that they're just struggling, and
Yeah.
I don't share the same sentiment right now, but I would love to. I would love to, and so I'm gonna let you speak that into existence. I'm gonna go with Nick Bosa. I don't think he's had the sort of sack production that you would expect him to have, but let's give him a little break coming off a torn ACL. He's still getting reacclimated. Haven't missed an entire year. So I think that we've also yet to see the best of Nick Bosa, but even so, he's still been providing a ton of pressure. He's still been one of the very best defensive ends in all of football. He's still one of the very best in terms of getting after the quarterback, getting pressures, applying pressure. And so with our offensive line right now in shambles, mainly due to the injuries, I got to go with Nick Bosa. I mean, he's uncoverable, or not, excuse me, not uncoverable. He's unblockable when healthy offensive lines are in front of him. And now you put in an offensive line that's missing 2 starters. How much more unblockable is he going to get? And so just like George Kittle, he's another guy that I'm looking at, especially on the defensive side of your guys' ball. He's due for a big game. And what better way to do that than to do that against a divisional rival for the first time in the season? And you're at home, you're coming off a loss. They're going to be highly motivated. They're going to want to not lose 2 in a row, even though Seattle might have something to say about that. But I just feel like on the defensive side of the football, he's also due for a big game. And he has the situation to really do that. It looks like, yeah, the banana's ripe. And so, I'm a little worried about Nick Bosa. So we're going to have to see.
Yeah, no doubt. Nick Bosa, the first 2 games, I think he had 3 sacks. And against Green Bay, Green Bay, they had a great scheme. I believe there's a stat, I think, when Rodgers threw the ball under 2.5 seconds, Rodgers was like 16 of 18 passing or something like that. So I think that is the key, against this 49ers defense is to, get rid of the ball quickly. And I don't know if we can play bump and run coverage. I don't know if we can do that. I don't know if we have the corners to do that. Because if a quarterback gets rid of the ball that fast, then you would think, oh, let's play closer to the line of scrimmage. He'll have to hold on to the ball more. And that would allow, the receivers, they would need more time to get open. But I don't know if we can do that with our secondary. But our strength, obviously, though, is still our defensive line. And the Seahawks offensive line is not their strength. So it could be a long day for Russell Wilson. But we know as 49er fans, Russell Wilson, he's a magician in the pocket. Even if you get pressure, he can scramble out to the left or right, make plays with his legs. But I think it's going to be a long day for our defensive line, just running after Russell Wilson. And but I think that's going to be one of the keys to victory for us. We have to, make Russell feel uncomfortable in the pocket, but that's going to be definitely hard to do. Niners Game Podcast says it's unfortunate, but these are facts. He can't throw outside the numbers or down the field, and he's referring to Jimmy G. I beg to differ. I think he can throw down the field. Now, does he throw the ball down the field like Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson? No. But I think he can do it. He just has to have time in the pocket. And here's what separates the great quarterbacks from the average quarterbacks or above average quarterbacks. Rodgers, we saw what he did. It didn't matter if it was bumper run coverage or whatever. He was throwing it to Devontae Adams, 18 times that game. He just threw it to him. Devontae Adams went up and got the ball. That's the type of rapport he has with his receivers. Jimmy doesn't have that. I don't know if it's confidence in the O-line, confidence in his ability, but we don't see those type of throws from Jimmy G. And maybe he just doesn't have the ability to do that, like throw his wide receivers open. But he can make throws. We've seen it. We were down 17-0. He was part of the reason we eventually got the lead. And, those are facts, but is he the best? No, there's no doubt he's not the best. I can't, I'm not going to say that, but he can make plays when necessary. I got to say, what's good to OYG Sakona? He says, smash all this sentimental-ish. We smacking the Seahawks. Our key is to stop Wilson from scrambling and put a stop to his main weapon. I'm just pumped up. And I appreciate those sentiments, man. But, he has a lot of weapons on that offensive side of the ball. DK, Tyler, they have a tight end. I think is that Cameron Everett, I believe?
So Jill Everett actually just got placed on the COVID list because he just tested positive for COVID. I don't think he's playing.
Wow. Oh, wow. Okay, man, that's very, very unfortunate. But, the Seahawks, they do have weapons, DK and Tyler, they are pretty well, and our secondary right now is not humming on all cylinders. So that's why I think in this game, it could be a shootout. I'm trying to say. Niner Game Podcast agree with me. He was 100% when Rodgers threw under 2.5 seconds, 16 for 16. Yeah, so I think that could be Seattle's. That could be one of Seattle's keys is to get rid of the ball quickly, make Nick Bosa and the rest of the defensive line non-factors. I would say for this question, we know about the big playmakers on the Seattle Seahawks offense. Is there someone that is not as heralded that the 49ers should be concerned about?
On our offense?
Yeah, on the Seahawks offense, yeah.
Man, see, I was going to say Jill Everett, but, I mean, he's not playing. And so I think I kind of changed my answer a little bit. I got to go with Will Dissly, man. I'm going to go with Will Dissly. I just feel like in week one, he wasn't a major factor in the game plan, but I feel like against Indianapolis, he was somewhat involved. We saw a couple of nasty stiff arms on his end. And his first couple of years in the league, while he has been injury prone in the time that he's been there, he's been very solid. He's been very reliable. And not just as far as blocking for the run, he's been a legitimate threat, I feel like, at tight end. And with Jill Everett out, I think he's going to have a chance to shine. I think he's going to have a chance to expose, some of what's been ailing you guys in the secondary. I don't expect 100 yards and multiple touchdowns, but I expect a real solid game. I expect him to be the third primary option for Russ Wilson in the pass game. D. Eskridge, I think he's coming back, but, let him get reacclimated a little bit. He's missed a couple of games. He is still a rookie, and he wasn't highly involved in week one. And so I don't know if Seattle has a trust in him yet for him to be that third or fourth primary option. And so I think Will Dissly steps in, and I'm just not sure, you guys, like you said, the secondary's been struggling. I'm not sure you guys can really cover him. I know your linebackers are phenomenal in coverage, Fred Warner and whatnot, but I just feel like Will Dissly, he's still young. He was playing alongside splitting snaps with Jill Everett, and I think he has a chance to shine, now that he has the opportunity to play and kind of take up all those snaps at tight end.
Yeah, and for those that are still in the chat, I appreciate if you guys leave a thumbs up for the video. Let YouTube and I know that you're enjoying the stream. And, yeah, I was going to ask you about the rookie wide receiver. So he's been active the first 3 games, or he's just not been productive?
No. So week one against Indy, after like a couple of catches – sorry about that. I don't know if he was able to hear that. But, no, so in week one, he had a couple of catches and then a couple of rushes, and then he suffered a concussion. So he missed the last 2 weeks. And I think if I heard correctly, Coach Pete Hill said he's going back to practice this week, and he has a pretty likely chance of playing this week. So I'm hoping, he's there just because we could use all the pieces that we could get.
Yeah, because our nickel slot corner, K'Wan Williams, he got hurt last week. He has a calf strain, so he's going to be out multiple weeks. So I was thinking about that receiver that you guys drafted. Like, oh, I know he's a fast receiver, and he could be deadly in those 3 receiver sets for the Seahawks because our secondary, our secondary right now is in shambles. So it'd be interesting to see what DeMeco Ryans, our defensive coordinator, has in store for Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. I'm not. I don't know. I would if we can't get after Russell, I think it's going to be a long day, and that's why I think it could be a shootout. It could be a high scoring game. Also, is there now? You mentioned hey, the defense isn't doing too well right now for the Seahawks. I don't even know if I should ask you this question. Is there a Seahawks defensive player that the Niners should be worried about, other than because you got Wags, Jamal Adams, Dunlap, Hyder? Is there any other player that you think could step up, make an impact, other than those 4?
I think Dale Taylor. I touched on him a little bit earlier, but I think out of all the pass rushers in Seattle, excluding Jamal, he's been Seattle's best pure pass rusher. Maybe not in terms of pure statistical production, but in terms of how he's been able to maul defenders, in terms of how he's been able to make his way to the quarterback. He hasn't done it with the most consistency in the world, but if I'm San Fran, and I'm looking at Seattle's D-line, I'm looking at guys aside from Bobby, Jamal, and some of those other boys, I'm going to go with Dale Taylor. To me, he just looks like he could potentially be a future star, especially at pass rusher. He looks like he could be like a Frank Clark. I see flashes of Frank Clark when I watch Dale Taylor play, and like I said, I've seen the flashes, and, your guys' offensive line has been struggling just a little bit. And so I feel like Dale Taylor could be a guy that, surprises everybody and maybe has a big game this game. I think, was he the one that had that sack last week? I'm not exactly sure, but I know in week 1, he had that crucial sack on Carson Wentz on 4th down, in which he just completely bulldozed his defender. He kind of struggled to start that game, but he finished strong, and he played exceptionally well, especially in the second half. And so, like I said, we've seen the flashes. The offensive line isn't the best, and it's been struggling just a little bit. And so in a divisional game, and like I said, their backs are against the wall, look for their best players to really come through and shine. And Dale Taylor, I believe, is one of them that people don't know about yet.
Yeah, because I did not know of Daryl Taylor. I'll definitely keep my eye on him. Do you know offhand what number he is?
He's is it 52? I think it's 52.
52. Okay.
Yeah, real fast. Let me just verify that though.
Yeah, no worries. I gotta say, what's good to Luke Luna? Appreciate you joining the stream. He says, I think for the first time ever, Russell loses 3 games in a row. I can see that materialize. We'll see.
He's 52, by the way.
Yeah. 52. Okay. And is he splitting snaps with Hyder and Dunlap? Which side does he normally line up on?
So, according to the depth chart, he actually starts at KJ Wright's vacated linebacker spot.
Okay.
So he's one of the outside linebackers, but he also gets a lot of snaps, at defensive end. He's rotating with the rest of those boys, so he's kind of splitting between the two.
Yeah, they probably don't want to put him up against the big silverback. I mean, we don't want to ruin the young man's confidence, in his rookie season. You don't want to put him up against Trent. Now, if anything, you might want to put him up against McGlinchey, but McGlinchey, I think he's been playing solid for the most part. I think the weakness in our offensive line, and we kind of knew that this offseason, is the interior of the offensive line. So like Brunskill at right guard, I think he's solid. He's a veteran. He's played multiple positions, but he's not great at that position. And I think if the Seattle gets a pass rush, I think it'll be inside. Who are your interior defensive linemen, like the defensive tackles?
So these guys are run stuffers, but there's Al Woods, Brian Monet, who had an exceptional week 1. He's one of the I don't know if he's one of the league's best, but he's definitely one of Seattle's best run stuffers. Poona Ford, I'm pretty sure that name rings a bell. Poona Ford has been an underrated star in the making these last couple of years. There isn't too much depth, honestly, at interior pass rusher, and so I think I hope Seattle looks to sign, a guy like a Geno Atkins. I've been a big proponent of Seattle making that move just because, look, Kerry Hyder's dealing with a concussion. I don't think he's going to play this week. You know, with the pass rush already looking as vulnerable as it's looked, we're going to need some guys up the middle to really generate pressure. Al Woods is more of a run stuffer. Brian Monet is more of a run stuffer. Poona Ford, he could generate a little bit of pressure in the interior, but we all know him for best for his ability to, you know, to stop the run. And so you bring in a guy like Geno Atkins, he could generate pressure up the middle. You know, he's also a run stuffer. And so I hope Seattle looks into that. But right now, the depth at defensive tackle, it's not ideal.
So you're saying Jimmy G's going to have plenty of time in that pocket. That's what you're saying.
I mean, possibly, just because if Seattle's defensive tackles are focused on the run, you know, Jimmy G's going to be able to step up and, you know, be able to make some of those throws that maybe not everybody's accustomed to seeing him make.
And even if pressure gets to Jimmy, you know, since he doesn't have that huge knee brace that was just weighing him down, you know, he's been a little mobile. He's been able to get out the pocket, you know, run and slide for first down yardage if he needs to. So the issue with Jimmy is it's just execution. He's got to execute his reads, his throws, be accurate with the football. And I think we'll definitely be able to, you know, stay in this game. I'm a little concerned about our defense. I know you're concerned about your defense. We'll see what gives. I think so far, we only have one turnover on the 49ers defense, I believe. So we definitely need to get better in that area. Luke Luna giving his prediction of the game. He says, I think we get off to a quick start and we take some time off that clock and set the tone. We will keep our defense off the field, but we will come to play. And I think the only way we'll run that time of possession and win that time of possession, we got to run the ball. And, you know, hopefully there will be some running backs back there that Lynch truly believes in. Got to say, what's good? CG Ruthless Sports. Thanks for tuning in to the stream.
What's going on, CG?
And Randy, what's good? Good morning, man. Thanks for tuning in to the stream. And let's see. Okay, so now let's get into the prediction for the game. Seahawks got to, you know, fly down to Santa Clara, take on the Niners. This will be our second home game of the year. Obviously, the Seahawks are 1-2. They're going to be really hungry for this game. Steezy A. Smith, who wins the game and why?
All right, look, you know, you guys can call me a homer all you want, but I just feel like, look, Seattle's the more desperate team. You know, in last week against Minnesota, while I did predict a Seattle victory, I also said in one of my episodes that, look, Minnesota could possibly beat Seattle, and I would not be surprised if that were to happen because Minnesota is the more desperate team. Usually when there are two desperate teams playing against each other, you know, and the gap in talent isn't all that huge, depending on some of the playmakers and depending on the culture, depending on the staff of whoever's on the more desperate team, usually they come out winning, you know, or at least they come out and play with a more sense of urgency. And so I just feel like with everybody kind of throwing Seattle season in the dumpster already, it got to be Seattle. You know, like I said, these next two games will be very telling. And with everybody talking about how the season could already be over before it's really even started, you know, they hear the noise. They hear the doubters. They know what's been going on. They know they're sloughing. DJ Reed said it best after the game. We got to get our together, right? And so I think this is the game in which they get it done. You know, they always play each other strong. You know, I mean, not strong. They always play each other pretty tough. You know, it's always down to the wire. It's always like a 1-point game. It comes down to the last drive, the last score. And I think you hit the nail on the head earlier when you said this game is going to be back and forth. This game could be a shootout, and it's going to come down to who turns the ball over less. And if you're going to ask me between Russell Wilson and Jimmy G, who's going to turn the ball over less, you know, I don't think it's a very hard answer. You know, I think it's Russ all day, every day, especially when it comes to ball control, ball placement, and turnovers, because as we know, Russell Wilson doesn't turn the ball over that much. Jimmy G, you know, that's a different issue. And so we also talked about how Jimmy's never lost 2 in a row. Russ has never lost 3 in a row. Something got to give, right? Well, if something got to give and it comes down to those two quarterbacks, again, I'm taking Russ by and large. It's not even close. And I know there's other factors involved. You know, you guys are at home. Your biggest strength is on the D-line, and that's going up against our biggest weakness. You know, but I just think that it's a get right game, and there's no way Seattle goes to 1-3 at this point in the season. Seattle's just too good. They're too talented. They had too many pieces to be that far below, especially in the NFC West race. They have to know what's at stake. Seattle's already lost 2 games, and the divisional games have yet to even start. And so, and I know that it's not prime time, but usually when their backs are against the wall, like I mentioned earlier, Seattle plays at its best. You know, they have the dogs, they have the motivators necessary to be able to get them over the hump, and they know what's at stake, you know, and so they can't afford to slip up. The margin of error is razor thin, especially in the NFC West. They're going to play you guys tough. And I know from time to time, Seattle plays down to the competition, but let's not forget, they also play up to the competition, especially when their backs are against the wall.
Well said. You know, this is going to be a tight, close, back and forth division game. We obviously know each other well. You know, there's no doubt. Yeah, you know, Russell Wilson, you know, is another level up from Jimmy G. We know that. I think the Seahawks receivers are probably a little bit better, maybe a little bit more explosive. You look at DK. I think we're better up front on both sides of the ball. And I think that's where football is won and lost. I also thought that last week against Green Bay, but we didn't execute. So I think it comes down to execution. I think if we can, you know, win up front, which we should, I think we're better on both sides of the ball. Linebackers, you could say a tie. Fred Warner, Wags. I mean, you know, they're both at the top of their game right now. Secondary, I mean, I think it's kind of maybe a tie. I mean,
it's a toss-up, honestly.
Yeah, it's a toss-up. I like Jimmy. I like Jimmy Ward. I like Tart. You guys got Jamal Adams. I think he's a playmaker when he's put in the positions. He's also an enforcer out there. So I think, you know, I think it's going to come down to, you know, Jimmy did pretty well turnover wise. I mean, I know he had that terrible fumble and he had that interception last week. But if Jimmy doesn't turn the ball over, and last week it was terrible with our penalties. We didn't have that many penalties, but they were just those defensive pass interference penalties. And obviously, it's not just your 15-yard penalty; it's basically whatever amount of yards the receiver runs down. So those killed us last week. The penalties and basically the lack of third down conversion in the first half on the offensive side of the ball. So I think it will be close though, because I'm not really afraid of Seattle's defense. They haven't played their best, and I think that will continue Sunday. And I think this will be a close game, but I'm taking my Niners to win. And you didn't give a score. What's your score? What do you think?
So I think Seattle comes out guns a-blazing. You know, like I said, they know what's at hand. They know what's at stake. They know that the offense has been stagnating in the second half. And so I think that's going to be a point of emphasis, along with the defense, of course. That being said, Seattle comes out on top in a somewhat of a shootout, 29-26.
29-26, okay. And I think it'll be a similar score. And I think it'll just come down to turnovers, penalties. And, you know, Jimmy G has to execute the Niners offense. And I think if we were able to run the ball, I think we'll be able to do that. But as you said, Seattle is desperate. I think this game could go either way. Honestly, I think it could be like legit a toss-up. But I'm taking my Niners to win 31-27.
Ooh. Our scores are real close.
I think it'll be real close. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think Jimmy G will be able to make some plays against the Seahawks defense. I think he will have time in the pocket. We just got to get off to a good start. We have to convert on third downs. We have to have long drives. We have to keep Russell Wilson off the field. I'm just not 100% sure if we can do that with the running backs in the running back room right now. I'm not sure if Shanahan believes in them. But you know, we'll see. CG Ruthless says stopping Seattle from scoring in the first half will be focused because second, they don't play well. And Steezy mentioned that, you know, early on. So yeah, we have to be able to put up a good we have to be able to play good on defense in the first half, especially. But I appreciate you joining me on the stream, Steezy A. Smith. Make sure you guys check out him. All his social media info is in the links in the description of this video. You represent the Seattle Seahawks well. I have one last question for you. I don't think I asked you this before, but who is on your Seattle Seahawks Mount Rushmore players? You had to pick only 4 players that either you idolize them or you feel like they're the best who ever played in that franchise history, who do you think? Who will be your top 4?
Man, all right. So Russ got to be on there, no doubt, for sure. Russ is on there, best quarterback in Seattle franchise history, without a doubt. He got to be up there. Doesn't hurt that he's one of my favorite players as well. And then got to go with Steve Largent. Before a lot of these receivers, started really dominating the league, before Jerry Rice really came into his own, I think it's undisputable that Steve Largent was probably the best receiver of all time. I know that was a while ago, and I know a
All
lot of
time.
receivers have. Well, that was before like Jerry Rice and all those guys.
Yeah.
So, but at one point he was the best receiver of all time, and so I know a lot of guys have come after him, but he's no longer there. Of course not. But I think in Seattle's history, easily the best Seahawks wide receiver in franchise history. I mean, he was setting records. At a crazy pace. And I mean, look, he wasn't the biggest dude. He was sub 6 feet, and he wasn't the most athletic. And so for him to do the things that he did was just, man, and his hands were just automatic. And so he got to be on there for me. And I got to go with, this might be more recency bias just because, I wasn't really there to watch, Seahawks football in the 90s. I wasn't born until, later on. But actually, I wanted to put Cortez Kennedy in there, but I got 2 other guys that said I'm gonna put Beast Mode in there, just for the fact that he was such an icon here in Seattle. He was so instrumental in Seattle bringing home Super Bowl 48 to Seattle, and I got to go with Bam Bam. He wasn't the best or the most talented member of the Legion of Boom, but he was the Legion of Boom. He was the enforcer. He is Bam Bam. That's Cam Chancellor that we talking about. I think, to me, a top 3, hardest hitter, regardless of position, in all the NFL. And obviously, it's sad that his career ended so prematurely. But the way that he was able to establish that defense, the way he was able to rally that defense, he was the leader. He was the alpha. He was the Legion of Boom. And so because the Legion of Boom is so iconic, because everybody always refers to Seattle's defense, the Legion of Boom, glory days, he was the leader of that. And I think, again, it doesn't hurt that he's also one of my favorite players of all time, as well as to watch. So my Mount Rushmore of the Seattle Seahawks, it might be a little bit more recency bias, but it's my list. So Russ Wilson, Steve Largent, Beast Mode, and Bam Bam.
Hey, I appreciate your thoughts. I gotta say, what's good to Scoozy? He feels otherwise. He feels Sean Alexander. I was surprised. I was a little surprised you didn't say Sean Alexander. I remember him. Obviously, he was like in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. He was a very productive running back. He had a short career. I think he only played like 7 or 8 years, but he was the man. And when Seattle was good, and he was the running back. I was surprised you didn't put Sean Alexander, and I thought for sure you would put Cortez Kennedy. But I respect your opinion. There's no doubt Beast Mode. He had a solid career in Buffalo, but there's no doubt he took off when he went to Seattle. I think he, Russell Wilson, and Pete Carroll kind of revitalized that franchise. And yeah, there's no doubt Beast Mode is there. And Cam Chancellor, yeah, he definitely made his mark with the Legion of Boom. But yeah, I respect your list, man. And some people in the chat feel otherwise, but everyone's got their own opinion. That's what's cool about the Mount Rushmore. You can pick the 4 best players of the franchise, or the 4 best players who were, who made the most impact in your mind. So, but I appreciate you coming on to the stream. Let's see. CG Ruthless says, I guess Sherman, you don't think Sherman should have made the list? Richard Sherman?
No, look, like I said, Cam Chancellor wasn't the most talented of the Legion of Boom. If we're going to pick the most talented of the Legion of Boom, it got to be Sherm. But to me, I just feel like Cam Chancellor, he had much more of an impact. He was the leader, and he was a hard hitter, tone setter, enforcer. Yeah. And to me, I just placed a little bit more value on that. But as far as talent, Richard Sherman over Cam, easily. But on my Mount Rushmore, it's not all about talent.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. And that's what makes your Mount Rushmore unique. Shanti Uber, what's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream, Shanti. Hopefully you're having a great Thursday, man. Thanks for tuning in. And I'll give you my Mount Rushmore. I think it's pretty, it's Rice. Of course, he's the GOAT. Joe Montana, Ronnie Lott, and Steve Young. Those are probably the top four. Part of me would take out Young and put in Bill Walsh. Part of me would do that, but I think you could go because I mean, greatest
West
head
Coast
coach
offense
in our history, creator of the West Coast offense. Like, and I know Steve Young got us that Super Bowl, and he is a Hall of Fame player. But sometimes I'm feeling, I could put, Bill Walsh there in front of Steve Young. But I think, I think every 49er fan most likely would have that as their top four. Those were the greatest players, in our history. So,
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And
For what it's worth, but
yeah, no, hey, I appreciate it, but those are the greatest. Montana, Rice, Young, Lott. Lott was an enforcer when he was, with the Niners, of course, similar to Cam. But yeah, man, those are definitely our best of all time. OYG says, "Yep, Cam Chancellor a beast. I used to hate that guy, but he go hard." Yeah, Vernon Davis doesn't like Cam Chancellor either.
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't think
I was gonna say.
I don't think VD's been the same since he got hit, by Cam. So, but it's been a pleasure, Steezy. I'm glad that you came on to my YouTube channel. I appreciate it. Shout out to any Seattle Seahawks fans who are in here representing their team hard and also representing Steezy A. Smith. But the floor is yours. What can people expect from Steezy A. Smith, YouTube, IG, and Twitter? Let the world know.
Yes, sir. First of all, I just want to say, it was a pleasure, bro, as always. I think it's been a couple of months since the last time we got on here, talk some Seahawks and Niners. So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. Thank you so much for having me on. To everybody that's been tuned in, thank you so much for viewing. Be sure to show my man some love at intheBay on YouTube. I know it's been a couple of weeks now. Maybe it's been a month, but, I never actually got to say this in person. But, congratulations on that milestone, bro. You're really moving fast. Really making waves, and it's been coming in fast. And so, to me, that's real. I'm proud. I'm happy to see that for real. So to all the fans out there, keep showing my guys some love. Drop a like, drop a comment, all that good stuff. It really goes a long way, and it really it's tremendous. And so, once you go do that, then you can find me primarily on YouTube as Steezy A. Smith, STEZYASMITH. You can find me on my socials, Instagram, Twitter, at same handle, Steezy A. Smith. I will be dropping the Seahawks and Niners preview. I'm hoping by tomorrow, sometime tomorrow. Yeah.
I think Steezy's feed may have frozen up a little bit.
Oh,
yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. I just can't see you.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, we can still hear you, but your screen
just
froze up.
Yeah, but I guess the power just went out, bro.
Oh, damn.
That's crazy. Yeah, the power just went out over here. That's crazy. But hey, as long as y'all can still hear, I mean, we're finishing up anyway. But yeah, you can expect the Seahawks and Niners preview on my channel sometime in the next couple of days. If there's any boxing fans out there, Manny Pacquiao, one of the GOATs, if not the GOAT, just retired. So I want to drop a video just kind of commemorating his career, talking about whether or not he's top 5 all time. And look, bro, I don't usually do this on my channel, but I'm going to start live streaming. I'm going to start using StreamYard more, bro. And so hopefully in time for our next matchup, whenever you guys come to Seattle, I'm going to have you on my show, bro. Have like a little 49er Seahawks roundtable. But yeah, that's all to come. Before you even check me out, though, don't forget to check out intheBay on YouTube, Instagram, all that good stuff. That you can find me at Steezy A. Smith.
Hey, I would be honored to come on your show, man. Yeah, I think you should definitely start using StreamYard, start live streaming. I think that would definitely help you, continue to level up in your subscribers and your following as well, man. And I look towards YouTubers like you, man. You guys have paved the way. You guys have shown, hey, I can talk about my favorite team. I can have fun doing it, and a lot of people can, follow me and subscribe to me. So you were definitely one of the people I noticed in the way beginning that, you had, you were already kind of established and you already had love for your team. And I definitely looked at guys like you. Of course, there's the Grant Cohen and Rombo Sports and all that. But yeah, keep representing your team, man. And I appreciate all the kind words, and I'm looking forward, and I'll be honored to come on to your show, man. But thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you coming through, man.
Yes, sir. And I appreciate the love, bro. That really means a lot. Just hearing those words coming out of your mouth, bro. I mean, for real, that really means a lot, for real. So thank you so much, bro. And I'm glad that, I'm able to have done something like that. I mean, for me, I feel like just a fish in the sea. So, out of all these different sharks and whatnot, I'm still a little fish. So, that means a lot for real, bro. We're just going to keep on grinding, keep on inspiring, and, really just keep trying to set an example for the next, either the next generation or for the kids that want to start doing stuff like this. So, yeah, but I appreciate that.
Exactly, man. Keep grinding. Keep doing what you're doing. Good luck this weekend. Hopefully, you guys, the Seahawks, stay healthy. And all right, man. You have a good rest of your week, man. Looking forward to Sunday, man.
Yes, sir, brother. Hey, have a blessed day, bro. For real.
All right, same to you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So that was Steezy A. Smith, Seattle Seahawks fanatic. He represents the Seahawks well, and there's no doubt. When I first started my YouTube journey, I noticed Steezy A. Smith doing his thing, and I wish I would have gotten into this years ago, but I'm definitely glad I'm doing this now, talking about the love of my 49ers. And it's always great to collab with great tubers such as Steezy, such as other YouTubers like Payo Time, Ram Showcase, all those other wonderful YouTubers, Amaro Tanaka from the AZ Cardinals. It's always good to collab with other people, especially in the NFC West division. We know each other so well. And like I told Steezy, I'm honored to go on to his show, and I'm definitely looking forward to that. And hey, it's been a great show, and I appreciate Steezy coming through. Hopefully he get his power back on. That was weird that happened at the end, but man, that's crazy. But Shanti Ubers, let's finish up these comments. He says, I respect the Seahawks, but that doesn't mean I like them. Yeah, you respect them for their talent. They're definitely a threat. And, but yeah, I don't expect you to like them. Scoozy says, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for tuning in, Scoozy. It's the first time I've seen you on. Be sure to make sure you like the stream, you subscribe to Jay in the Bay. I appreciate all the support. CG Ruthless says, Roger Craig paved the way for running backs like Marshall Faulk, Christian McCaffrey, and others who do all purpose. Yeah, and I would add in Thurman Thomas. Thurman Thomas, hell of a running back. He played basically all of his career with the Buffalo Bills. He had one season with the Dolphins. But, yeah, Thurman Thomas was one of those running backs who, he caught the ball out the backfield. He ran the ball as well. Thurman Thomas is a Hall of Famer. And, yeah, he's definitely up there for – he's definitely one of those backs who paved the way, as you mentioned, who caught the ball out the backfield and they ran the ball as well. So, Marshall Faulk, McCaffrey, they I'm sure they looked up to those types of running backs. Roger Craig, Thurman Thomas, absolutely. Scoozy says he's going Sunday, by the way. Hey, enjoy the game, man. Going up against, going to Santa Clara, Levi Stadium, second home game this season. And that should be a very, very exciting game going up against a division rival in the Seahawks. CJ Ruthless says someone call him. Niner Sickness says, Steezy, just like your D, not a good finish. LOL. That's funny. OYG Sakona says, much respect. Steezy A. Smith. Yeah, man, he represents them Seahawks well. Let's see. Niner Sickness says, just like you disappeared on the show, brother, good defense will disappear against the Niners. Hey, that's what we hope comes to fruition, Sunday afternoon. Definitely looking forward to the game. I will have a pregame live stream, of course, on Sunday, most likely probably at 11:30, maybe 12, probably 11:30, because the game starts at, I think, 1:05 on Sunday. Thumbnail will be coming out for that. Also, I will have a post-game live stream. And a video will be coming out soon. For those that don't know, I did reach 100,000 views on YouTube. I will be making a short video about that. And also, there will be 100,000 views giveaway coming up shortly. It's just a small token of appreciation for everyone who's, hey, just clicked on my thumbnail, and, I appreciate that. Blue True says, now that's mad respect at Jay in the Bay and Steezy A. Smith. Y'all are cool. I appreciate the kind words. CG Ruthless says, I came a long ways. Jay in the Bay, remember how small our channel, and I started hitting up. Yeah, I mean, when I first discovered CG, yeah, we were both just starting out, just, getting used to how things work, on YouTube. I don't even think we were live streaming yet. I don't think, or at least I wasn't. But yeah, I mean, we've definitely come up together, and like we're like a YouTube family, So keep doing what you're doing. CG Ruthless. Scoozy says, "What's your email, Jay?" So it's just like it says at the ticker below. It's basically jinthebay87@gmail.com. So jinthebay87@gmail.com. That's where you can reach me at on my email. Luke Luna says, "Yeah, man, I've been thinking about starting a podcast, doing some tattooing and sports talk once life calms down." Yeah, that would be a great idea. That's one of your passions, tattooing. You should definitely start. Maybe recording of your tattoos when you do them, and then maybe putting them up on YouTube. Maybe starting an IG and Twitter. That'll help your business too, for sure. And then with the sports talk, yeah, man, go ahead, start talking about your love of the 49ers. And don't worry about subscribers and likes in the beginning. Just get used to like talking in front of a camera, and because obviously that takes getting used to as well. Like I tell everyone, I'm always nervous before I go on live stream. You guys may not be able to tell it all the time, but I'm definitely nervous every time I go on because I want to do well, and of course I want everything to go right. But but yeah, I always get nervous. But yeah, I'm glad I'm definitely doing this. Blue True says, yes, Thurman Thomas, Hall of Famer. Absolutely. Definitely a Hall of Famer. CG Ruthless says, I never thought I'd be where I'm at. I believe this platform helped me create great videos. I learned what's been working for me. I'm getting closer to 3K and 600 subscribers. Yeah, you're growing, man. You are growing exponentially, man. It's definitely good to see. You're almost at that 3K subscriber and closer to 600,000. That's incredible. That's amazing. Because YouTube, for the content creators, y'all know this, but YouTube, it's hard. It is hard to do. Sometimes it's hard to stay consistent. You're juggling your life, your YouTube, family, all that good stuff, work. So it definitely is hard. It takes time. And that's why we appreciate everyone who, likes videos, who subscribes, leave comments, who converses with us in the chat. So much appreciated. Like we can't thank the supporters enough. There was some 49er news. Obviously, we signed cornerback. What's his name? Let me look up his name. I forgot his name. That we just signed him. Let me look that up real quick. Let's see. Buster Screen. That's who we signed. Buster Screen, veteran corner. He's been on several different teams. We need all the help we can get, Faithful, at that cornerback position. Also, Richard Sherman, he did he got signed by the Buccaneers. So I'm happy for Sherman. I'm happy he's back in the NFL. Do I wish he would have signed with the Niners? Yes and no. It would have been nice to bring him back, but I think for some reason him and the Niners cannot agree to terms. So, and he wants to go to the best opportunity he can to win a Super Bowl. Clearly he felt that was with Tampa Bay. So, hope Sherman does well. And I'm looking forward to seeing him play. And I think there was some other news. George Kittle did not practice due to his calf strain. But I don't think this should hinder him from playing. I don't think it will, but we'll get updates as the week progresses. I think there's some other news I wanted to mention. Let's see. So it looks like I think Maurice Hurst, he was on IR, and also Devontae Harris were also on IR, but it looks like their practice window has opened up. So it looks like they will be practicing. So defensive tackle Maurice Hurst and Devontae Harris, cornerback, they will be practicing. So this is good. They probably won't play, this week, but at least they are, practicing. That's a start. This is something that most people probably won't talk about, but Mitch Wishnowsky, our punter, he's been named the NFC Special Teams Player of the Month. That's pretty cool news. Shouts out to Mitch Wishnowsky. You don't really hear too much about punting, but field position is important in the game of football, and a punter, directly affects that. Let's see. CG says NFC West Roundtable been helping me in short breaking news pop up. Yeah, like when you talk about the news, the most recent news with the 49ers, that definitely helps you get views, absolutely, and then that'll help you get more subscribers. Yeah, Buster Screen, exactly. And CG says his video on Buster Screen pop up close to 2K views, man. Yeah, congratulations, man. It's nice when YouTube is pushing your videos, man. That's definitely a great feeling. Shout out to Blue True for the $10 super chat. I appreciate that, Blue True. And I appreciate everyone who came into the stream today, who was conversing with me, and Steezy. So shout out to CG Ruthless, Luke Luna, Scoozy, Niner Sickness, Sean Tuber, um, OYG Sakona, um, Niner Game Podcast. Appreciate everyone conversing with me and Steezy. Randy was here. Let's see. Libby's World, Jesus, J Mouse, Pale Time. And yeah, I appreciate everyone coming through. I will have a live stream again tonight at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time with another Seattle Seahawks YouTuber, Aiden. That thumbnail will be coming out shortly. So that way, people who can't watch this stream in the morning with Steezy, they can watch another Seattle Seahawks fan tonight at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time on Jay and the Bay YouTube channel. And Niner Sickness, I appreciate the kind words, brother. I can't wait till me and you collab again, whether it's on my channel or your channel. I'm looking forward to us collabing. And let's see, Luke Luna, I appreciate that $2 super chat. He says, we win as a team and lose as one too. I totally agree. Absolutely agree. Truer words have never been spoken. OYG Sakona, appreciate you coming through. Sean Tuber. Yeah, so yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because the executive assistant of the show, the executive assistant of the Jay and the Bay show, always critiques me, and I appreciate getting critiqued. Doing this show live, there's a lot of different names. Sometimes I say something incorrect, not on purpose, of course. So I appreciate you verifying that, Sean Tuber. So he says you can still call me Sean T. Uber. I just combine the letters. Okay. Yeah, whatever your preference is. Whether it's Sean Tuber, Sean T. Uber, whatever your preference, or I could just say Sean, whatever your preference is. But thanks for commenting on that though. Yeah, I appreciate all the support. Shout out to everyone watching Jay and the Bay Facebook, Jay and the Bay YouTube channel. I appreciate that. And shout out, of course, to Steezy A. Smith. If you haven't checked him out, make sure you check out his social media info. It is in the links of this video. And I will see you guys later tonight at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. If you guys can make it, that's great. We'll have Aiden on. He is a Seattle Seahawks YouTuber. Thumbnail and IG, Twitter, all that promo stuff will be coming out real soon. And thanks for watching your boy, Jay in the Bay. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Go Niners.